Hey guys, I'm back with another Fujifilm X-T4 Rumor video. This is supposed to be the week, February 25th, 26th, this camera's supposed to drop. I've been following this thing a long time and it's pretty exciting. I know a lot of you have as well. There's been a lot of activity over at the Fuji Rumor site last few days. Some of the things excite me and other things have me a little concerned, and I'll get into that in a minute. But first I wanted to share, they have some totally legit high resolution product photos of the X-T4. If you guys want to know what this camera is going to look like, here it is. You don't get this detailed in this many photos without being the real deal. So whoever they have leaking the information at Fuji Rumors, they're pretty legit. There's also a fully detailed spec sheet, and those are some of the things that concern me a little bit. As you can see, it lives up to the XT series lineage, and it looks like an XT3 and XT2, a little bit more modernized, and you know, they've changed the dials. Let me get to a better picture to show you the dial layout. There's the flippy screen, guys. It's going to happen. The buttons are raised so they're easier to find if you're trying to feel the back of the camera. That's a very good thing. They also moved a couple buttons on, like the Q button around and the function button on the top, just better positioned it. And this is a camera that just shows that Fuji keeps on improving things, the small little things at every different release version. So that's really good to see. The dials are more modernized and they got like a conical shape. I really like them. But biggest change to the dials, you can't see it from this picture. Let me come out and go to another picture here. Is the, let's look at the back of the screen here. I can't see it there either. Sorry, guys. Oh, there it is. They took the setting, you used to be able to flip from video to stills, used to be on the left side, at least it was on the XT2, and they took that out of there. So on the left side, it looks like you have, the bracketing, your high, low, single, and a few other changes. And HDR, I don't know what HDR is going to be. I hope, that's one of my wants. I hope it can do a single shot JPEG and HDR. That's going to be really cool if that works out to be true. But what they did is they took in the right knob, or the right dial, it's just dedicated for stills and movies. And on the XT2, it was with the exposure. So you could do single point or evaluated. You could change the exposure, or your metering, I'm sorry, for exposure. But what they did is they repurposed that dial for movie and stills. So that's really exciting. It's just easier to bounce between video and stills, because this is going to be a super great, if that's a word, it's going to be a great multi-purpose hybrid camera, video and stills, because this camera is going to get the flippy screen. It's going to have IBIS, so a lot of good things just to add on to already a great camera in the X-T3. So here's the things, guys, that have me excited, and some things that have me concerned a bit. One of the things that I'm glad to see is obviously the flippy screen. Is also the bigger grip. I'm going to go ahead and switch here, and in this shot here, you can see they took the X-T4 and X-T3 overlaid it, and what they did is they lined up the hot shoe. And I feared that this camera was going to be bigger, but I'm glad to see it's not bigger. Just a small fraction over the X-T3. The only kind of decent size gain we have is in the grip, and that's a definite plus in my book, because the X-T2 and the X-T3 were a little bit small for my hands. I don't have huge hands, but they were a little small, and I'm so glad to get a little bit better of a grip without increasing the overall camera size a lot. And let's look at the X-T4 versus the XH1, and you can see there's a huge difference between the two cameras. And I always said that I'd love to have something in between. This one isn't really in between. I could have went just a little bit more, just a tiny bit more, and I'd have been even happier. It's hard just looking at pictures and not putting in my hand, but as you can see, there's still a big difference between the X-T4 and the XH series. But I'm glad they didn't make it huge. And that's very, very good in my books. One of the negatives, when you look at the specs, I'm going to go to the specs, flip over here and go down to the specs. And I don't have this prep, but a couple of the specs that have me a little concerned is, one is the back screen. The back screen, the flippy screen, I really thought it was going to have the same as the XT200, which is like 2.7 something million dots, which is crazy high resolution. This one is supposed to get like 1.6, 1.7 million dots. So I don't know why Fuji would do that. I don't know if they're holding something back, or maybe the other one isn't water resistant. I don't know, but it's not like the end of the world, because it's still an improvement from my XT series, because I think I have about half the resolution on the back of the screen. But I really wish it was at 2.7 million. And this spec sheet looks legit, so we're probably not going to get it. I hope we do, but we're probably not going to get it. We're probably going to get the 1.7. So get the flippy screen, but not like, you know, blind you sharp flippy screen. So that's kind of one of my disconcerting points of this camera. My my other one is the weight. Now, someone else posted on one of my last videos saying that, you know, they had some concern about the weight, and I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. You won't notice it. But this camera, it's coming in at like 12% higher weight. Now, I don't mind a little bit heavier of a camera. You're going to have a little bit bigger of a battery, but 12% is a pretty good jump. You know, it's still not as heavy as like the Canon EOS R. We're talking full frame cameras here, guys. Comparison to, it's still lighter, but it's kind of creeping up on the weight, and some would say you can't have your cake and eat it too, and I don't know. I think you can. It's 2020, and many companies can offer a lot of things and not induce weight. So, you know, those are a couple of the negatives. The last negative that I have, which one is the biggest negative I have, is the rumored launch price of $1,700. I just think this camera shouldn't be that high. I really don't. If you say, oh, you know, it's IBIS, it's $200 more. I've heard some other people do videos on that. Look at the marketplace. You can get a Sony a6600, and I'm not saying that this is a total comparison of a6600, but it's about the closest that is on the market. If you think about it, 24 megapixel sensor, APS-C, compact type of camera. It's going to have IBIS, big battery. You know, the A6600 has IBIS and the Z-type battery. It's going to have very, very similar things like autofocus, eye autofocus. So this probably has better IBIS because Sony isn't that good, and it's got a better form and function, but it's still the competitor, direct competitor to Sony. And I think this beats it by quite a bit, but we're talking $1,200 to $1,700. So I think that's a big gap. If this camera was $1,400, $1,500, even I'm saying stretch it to $1,599, but it's really $1,499, I think is where this camera should have came in at. And some people say that's $200 over the $1,700 is only $200 over the XT3. It's like, are you in a time warp? Is Fuji sending you cameras? I don't understand that madness, because let's look at B&H. You can get a Fuji XT3 right now with a battery grip, and I'm not a battery grip person. I don't like battery grips, but what I do like about the battery grip, it comes with a couple extra batteries. So that alone is worth, you know, like $150. Because when you get a camera, I don't care how big the battery is, you got to at least have one battery. You can get the Fuji XT3 with a battery grip right now for $1,300. So you're saying it's only $200 more. No, you're getting battery grip, 2 batteries, an XT3 for $1,299, and this camera is going to launch at $1,700, and that's $400. That's significant. And then when you compare it with the A6600 at $1,100, I think Fuji's getting really in dangerous territory. You know, I'm kind of split on this, guys. I'll probably get it. I was all excited. I know $100 or $200 shouldn't you know, take me away from my decision. But what's going to happen with this camera? And Fuji's horrible for it. I know I'm going to go on kind of on my soapbox, but the resale value sucks. If I watched my XT2, you know, I think I bought that camera for $1,900, and I don't regret the camera purchase, but that thing fell like horribly in the resale value. If you compare it to like Canon, I bought a Canon M50, not at launch, but I bought it maybe 8 months after launch, 6 months after launch. Bought a lens. I actually sold that camera on eBay, and I made $50 off it. I bought it brand new, and I made 50 bucks off it. It just, they hold their value. Canon holds their value. And the thing I see with the Fujifilm, and I'm okay with that. If it was $1,500, I'd take my hit and move on. But what's going to happen is I'm going to buy this camera for 1,700 bucks because I'm excited and I want this camera. And this thing's going to fall. It's going to fall down to $1,200, $1,300 within 3 to 4 months. And it's going to be a great camera. I think it's going to be one of the cameras that everybody's going to talk about and all that stuff. But it's just priced a little high. They have a lot of steep competition with some full frame cameras that are out or coming out very, very soon. And they're going to launch at 1,700, get what they can, and they're going to drop it down to 1,200, 1,300. Then they'll take the Fuji XT3 and keep that around, and they'll make that camera like $999. That's what's going to happen. And then all the XT3 owners won't be able to give their camera away because that thing on used market will now sell for like $700. Why do I know that? Because that's what they did to the XT2. It pisses me off. They should just cancel the XT3s, replace it. And I'm not saying Fuji's the bad guy because they all do it. I just hate when, Apple does it with their iPhones. It just kills resale value. It makes having to upgrade or wanting to upgrade harder and harder and harder. And I was kind of okay with all that at $1,400 or $1,500, but now when you're talking $1,700, it just hurts a little bit, or a lot more actually, $200 more. So that's my little rant for the day, guys. I'd love to hear what you think. There's still some things that I'm hoping for in this camera, and I'm gonna pre-order it, and then give me a couple days to kind of look over the true specs, and I can always cancel it. I won't ship that day, but one of the things I'm hoping for to really be worth the $1,700 is to have a gyro. And why is a gyro important? Because one of the specs that this camera should have, or says it will have, is the digital IS. So what does that mean? So I like walking around in vacations. I love my prime lenses. That's why I shoot Fuji. I love, walking around with my 23 millimeter, my 16 millimeter 1.4s, and they're just not really usable for family videos. I tried to do stabilization in post. It's just a little tough. Where this camera, this XT4, has the capability to be one of the best stabilized cameras on the market, because you could have in-body stabilization, possibly lens stabilization, and I think they'll work in tandem if you have a lens that has OIS. And Fuji's got a bunch of good lenses that have optical stabilization. But you take those two things and you combine it with a digital stabilization with a gyro. And why is gyros important? It's important because that's what GoPros and all these people that do these this stabilization, the crazy stabilization, you need the gyro or you get that warpy kind of weird effect. And Fuji's kind of doing it in the XT200. I don't know if it's like a great rollout of it. I haven't heard anything bad about it. But this camera, this XT4, has a capability of being like, one of those, what is it? The Olympus, I think, is known for their stabilization. You can kind of like walk around with the camera and it be like crazy stable. This could be that camera in an APS-C size camera body and shoot awesome stills at the same time. So it's got the potential to be like the best all-around hybrid camera that ever was. So, if it delivers on the goods, then $1,700, I could say, yeah, about a Fuji, you did it. But when I read things about the back screen where it could be 1.7 million instead of the 2.7 million, are you holding out, or is there a reason? So I'd love to hear what you guys think. I know I'm rambling on a little bit, but it's getting close and I'm getting kind of excited. And I don't want to get let down. And as the specs are right now, $1,700. I go back and forth. Am I going to pre-order it? Am I going to not pre-order it? It seems like today I'm going to pre-order it. Tomorrow I might change my mind. And I had to go to the dentist and I need some work. So that doesn't help weigh on the decision a bit because they're going to take some of my camera money. But anyways, guys, love to hear what you think about these XT4 photos, the rumors, the specs. What are you excited about? What are you not excited about? Do you have the same concerns I have? Do you think Fuji's going to really just knock us off our feet and set the market in a blaze and just, you know, crazy deliver, or are they going to hold back? That's really the question I have. So thanks for watching, guys. Until the next one, take care.